Commence primary ignition.
Welcome to Unlimited Power. My name is D-Rod, and thank you for watching one of my pre-release guides for Star Wars Unlimited's new and fourth set, Jump to Lightspeed. Now, Jump to Lightspeed pre-release begins on March 7th, where you're going to be introduced to new cards with new mechanics, new leader actions, new abilities, and new tokens. You're also going to see the growth among factions in Star Wars, like Rebels, Resistance, First Order, and Imperial. If this is your first time watching one of my guides, I'll let you know that we're going to be looking at commons and uncommons within this set that can strengthen the synergy with the leader you choose to play. There are going to be some great rares and legendaries that fit really well with some of these leaders, but the chances of you pulling a rare or legendary that does that is going to be a lot slimmer than your chance of pulling a common or uncommon in your 6 booster packs that can really fill out your deck and the theme you're working for. With that said, let's begin to look at some of these leaders and see what kind of fun we can have on pre-release day. Let's talk about one of the most anticipated cards within this set, as well as a character who really didn't want the job, Admiral Piett. So Admiral Piett is now in Star Wars Unlimited as a leader, and people are really excited for him, and let's take a look at him. As an action, you can exhaust him to play a capital ship unit from your hand, and it costs 1 less. In a set that's all about ships, this is going to be very exciting. As an epic action, you can deploy Admiral Piett if you control 5 or more resources. When he comes into play, he's a 5-cost 2/7 ground unit, and each capital ship you play now costs 2 less. This is pretty cool. Now, depending on when you want to deploy Admiral Piett, matters based on the type of cards you are going to grab. Let's take a look at some of the capital ships and other cards that are going to work with Admiral Piett within the Jump to Lightspeed sealed deck. The first card we're going to look at is the Kijimi Patrollers. Capital ships are going to be great, but you're going to need a couple of cards to stabilize your board and put a presence out for your opponent to deal with and get some early points of damage in. The Patrollers come into play at a 2 cost, and they are 1/1, and they create a 1/1 TIE Fighter token. Give yourself a couple of bodies and have your opponent try to figure out how to deal with it. Next is the TIE Ambush Squadron, a 4-cost space unit that has ambush and is a 2/3, and when it's played and when defeated, it gives you a couple more TIE fighters. So getting more units on the board is going to, again, help you stabilize early. When it comes to capital ships, though, the resupply carrier is going to help you get further ahead here. The resupply carrier you can play when you have 5 or more resources using Admiral Piett's ability. It's a 6-cost space unit that's a 4/5 and says when played, you may put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. So this is a ramp capital ship. This card is pretty solid. As far as the other cards in command that you should take a look at, the MC-30 Assault Frigate is going to be one of those that I think is really going to shine with Piett early on. It's a common card. It's 5 costs, meaning you can play this when you have 4 resources using Piett's ability, and you get a 5/5. A 5/5 on turn 3 with Overwhelm and Raid 1. This means it hits for 6, and anything it kills, the excess damage hits the opponent's base. That's a lot of damage for your opponent to deal with, and even if you're swinging and taking out their small units, it makes it even harder. Take advantage of cards like Prepare for Takeoff. A reprint from Spark of Rebellion, this card's going to allow you to search the top 8 cards of your 30-card deck for 2 vehicle units. Reveal them and put those capital ships into your hand, getting set up for Admiral Piett's deploy turn. Use cards in this aggression aspect to kind of keep your damage consistent against your opponent. Again, you're going to have to do some stuff a little bit early here in order to get set up later. Stay on Target is a 2-cost event that allows you to do that. Attack with a vehicle unit, like one of those TIE fighters, and they get +2/+0 for the attack. When the unit deals damage to the base, draw a card. Drawing a card is going to help you see those capital ships sooner, which is what you want. Ideally, you would love to be able to play a 7-cost card capital ship when you deploy Piett, or if you need to hold back Piett, play an 8-cost when on turn 5 when you have 6 resources, things like that. The next is going to be Shoot Down. You need answers for some of your opponent's early starts. Shoot down allows you to deal 3 damage to a space unit, and if you can defeat the space unit that way, you then can deal 2 damage to the base, keeping your tempo of damage consistent. Now, the vigilance aspect has a few capital shifts, is probably where you're going to spend most of your time. We have the uncommon of the Chimera, the Thrawn flagship. That's a 6 cost. This means you could play this for 4 when Piett's deployed, or you can play it for 5 using his exhaust ability. Now, when he's deployed, he's a 5/6 that says, when played, you may use a when defeated ability. Very important if you're playing blue, on another friendly unit. When defeated on the Chimera, you get 2 more TIE Fighter tokens, again, keeping that board pretty filled. Now, another card that is a great capital ship is the Relief Runner. This CR90 space unit, it costs 6, which means you can get this out for 4 when he's deployed, or 5 when he is not. And it's a 4/6 with Restore 2. It also has a when defeated ability that would be nice for the Chimera to trigger, which allows you to heal up to 3 damage from a unit or a base. In the cunning aspect, take a look at the Kimogilla Heavy Fighter here. Pretty sure I'm always mispronouncing this one. It's a 4 cost 3/4 that says, when played, deal 3 indirect damage to a player and exhaust each unit damage this way. 3 indirect damage is is mentioned in one of the new mechanics within Jump to Lightspeed. The indirect damage says that a player who is assigned this damage or receives this damage has to assign this amount, so 3, unpreventable damage among their base and units. This is going to pull your opponent a little bit out of the game because now they have to think about how to distribute damage. Do they put it on their units, making them easier to kill, or making them have less health when you have overwhelm? Or do they go ahead and put it on the base, quickening how much damage they've already taken? I love that they have to make the decisions. That's the kind of mechanics I love seeing in Star Wars come back from previous Star Wars games. The next is the Corporate Light Cruiser. This is a capital ship, so you can play this early. It has ambush, and it is a 4/6 with raid 1. So play this early and let it hit for 5 and start doing some damage to your opponent's base pretty quickly. In the villain aspect, the TIE Bomber is always going to be effective early on. It's a 2 cost 0/4 with an on-attack trigger of dealing 3 indirect damage. And the TIE Dagger Vanguard allows you to put a 3 cost 2/2 space unit into play that deals 2 damage to a damaged unit. So if you can swing with the Bomber first and then play the TIE Dagger Vanguard, you're going to be doing a lot of damage to your opponent's units. Next is the attack run. You're putting all these capital ships out. An attack run is going to ensure you get 2 hits before your opponent can take an action. And then the flanking Fang Fighter here is great early on because it's a 3 cost 2/3 that says as long as you control another fighter, like one of those TIEs, you're going to be able to get the raid 2 bonus and hit for a total of 4. So this is my advice when you're playing Admiral Piett at one of your local Jump to Lightspeed events. I'm excited to play Piett in Limited and Constructed. Let me know what you're excited about when it comes to this Admiral and what cards worked for you at your local event. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this video. I wish you luck and may the Force be with you.